Hello, and welcome to our 26th D&D 3.5 Prestige class review. Today we're going to be looking at the Knight Protector Prestige class from the Complete Warrior Sourcebook. Knight Protectors are warriors that dedicate themselves to preserving the fading ideals of knightly chivalry. They see the world as falling slowly into moral decay, and they do their best to display their ideals and protect often lords and all sorts of nobility, and just generally try to do good in the world. To be a Knight Protector, you're going to need to be lawful neutral or lawful good, so that does feed into this pretty well. Your other requirements for being a Knight Protector are going to be a base attack bonus of +5, so you're going to definitely need to be some kind of warrior class for this one. And you will need 6 ranks in diplomacy, 4 ranks in knowledge, nobility, and royalty, and 6 ranks in ride. This is going to restrict you to, if you want to get in after level 5, the Paladin, or strangely enough the Hexblade is the only other class that has got both Diplomacy and Ride as class skills while also having a full base attack bonus. The Swashbuckler unusually does not. As for the feat requirements, well, that is where qualifying at level 5 seems to fall apart. The only way to get all of those feats would be to either be a fighter or, oddly, a knight from Player's Handbook 2. However, neither of them have Diplomacy as a class skill, so that would prevent them from jumping in right after level 5. The example character given is a Paladin level 6 before entering the Knight Protector class, so this is not going to be one that you're going to be getting into early, and that's already a point against it. For the most part, you're going to want to be able to join your Prestige class right after level 5 so that you can get those features as quickly as possible. Overall, I would give the Knight Protector a very restrictive rating for its prerequisites. You do need a lot of feats, you need a lot of skills, and the best way of getting those feats is going to make it harder to get those skills. The alignment restriction really isn't much of an issue, of course. Such a character that would want to become a Knight Protector is likely going to be that alignment anyway. You can also get into this Prestige class as a Samurai, so that's another option besides Paladin, but again, you're not going to be able to get those feats until at least level 6, and you will probably have to play a human. Looking over the stat block for the example character, it's not even clear if this level 6 Dwarf Paladin was able to get all of the prerequisite feats before joining the Prestige class, so it's possible that they cheated a little bit even on their example NPC. The Knight Protector is a D10 hit die, which is pretty good for a warrior type class. It's better than a ranger at the very least. And if you're coming into this as a fighter or paladin, you're not going to have to get used to anything different. You're going to have a good will save, which is a welcome benefit for martial type characters who usually have a weak will save. You would think that paladins would have a good will save, but unfortunately they do not. So this is going to be welcome for resisting various enchantment effects, fear effects, and the like. You also, of course, get full base attack bonus, which would be an absolute requirement for this Prestige class. At level 1, you gain Defensive Stance +2. This says that at the start of any turn when you're within 5 feet of an ally who has fewer hit dice than you do, you can transfer up to 2 points of armor class to your ally, and this bonus increases by 1 for every 3 levels beyond first. So by level 10, you're going to have a up to +5 that you can transfer from your own armor class to that of an ally who's adjacent to you and has fewer hit dice. Not equal, but fewer. So this is going to force you to essentially be bodyguarding nobles and the like who are of lower level than you, and many of them will be by this point. This is a nice ability for its intended role, but in terms of being used in a party of characters who are usually going to be of equal level, that really makes the ability a lot less useful for you. And already the restriction of having to 1. Reduce your own armor class, and 2. Remain within 5 feet of your ally makes this a difficult ability to use by itself. Forcing you to have a lower hit die target for it just sinks it completely as a useful option. There are some cases, of course, where you're going to have a group of mixed levels, but relying on that really isn't the sort of thing that you're going to want to have to deal with. Also at level 1, you're going to gain the Shining Beacon ability. This allows you to give a +4 morale bonus on saves against fear effects to allies within 10 feet of you, And if you're helpless or unconscious or paralyzed, then your allies lose this bonus. Not sure if you count as an ally of yourself, but if not, you're not going to get this bonus for yourself, but with a better will save, that's probably not too much of an issue. Fear effects are relatively rare, but they can be very devastating, so it's good to be able to grant a bonus to these to your allies. Fortunately, this does double up at level 1 with another feature, so it's not the only thing that you're getting, and it does require your allies to be within 10 feet of you, which is quite a restriction if you've played a good amount of D&D. Perhaps in tight, cramped dungeon corridors and rooms this won't be as big of a deal, but as the levels get higher and the monsters get larger, you're going to have a lot more room that you need to maneuver, and monsters unleashing area attacks are going to make you less willing to group up. This aura is a little bit too small to really be effective, and the bonus it provides is a situational one. At second level, you gain Best Effort. This gives you the ability to, once per day, give yourself a +2 bonus on a check, and the bonus increases by 1 for every 3 levels past second, so eventually you're going to have Best Effort +4 at 8th level. This can only be used on a skill check, and only once per day. This is somewhat nice. You have to, of course, declare it before you roll it, but that is pretty standard for these sorts of once per day abilities in 3.5. This is nice. This is sort of like an action point or something of that sort, which I believe started with the Eberron campaign setting. However, for an entire second level feature, it's not really exactly cohesive with the rest of the theme of the class, and it's nice, but it might fit better on something like the Exemplar prestige class, where it's really focusing on skills. This really isn't too good of a feature. Fortunately, at level 2, you also gain the Iron Will feat as a bonus feat. Now, this is something that you probably could have taken if you'd just been sticking with levels of fighter, or rather, you could have gotten another feat with your fighter bonus feat and used your just regular character advancement feat to take Iron Will if you wanted it. It is recommended for fighters. It's probably the only one of the save bonus feats that is recommended for fighters. But it is nice to at least get that for free as you advance in this prestige class. At third level, you gain Supreme Cleave. This is similar to abilities that the Dervish and Frenzied Berserker get. It allows you to take a 5-foot step between attacks when using Cleave or Great Cleave feats. So this is effectively going to allow you to get one more creature in your Great Cleave, potentially, or at the very least allow you to hit a creature that you wouldn't otherwise be able to with your Cleave attack. This is a nice feature, but again, it's hard to see how it fits the Knight Protector. It's not really related to protecting anyone, unless I guess the noble or such that you're escorting is surrounded by spread out enemies, then it might help you a little bit, but otherwise this really seems like a feature that belongs with a different prestige class. At level 6, you gain the No Mercy feature. This allows you to make 1 extra attack of opportunity per round. It mentions this is as if you had the Combat Reflexes feat and a Dexterity modifier of +1. At 9th level or higher, you get 2 extra attacks of opportunity per round, and it does mention that in both cases this stacks with the benefit of the Combat Reflexes feat, if you happen to have that. If not, this effectively gives you as many extra attacks of opportunity as a heavily armored fighter is likely to have, given their typical investment in dexterity. This is good, and this is at least going to fit into the Protector theme, more so than any of the other features so far, rather than the first level one, which admittedly is at least thematic, even if it's a bit lackluster, particularly for using on fellow party members. Being able to be a defender with a polearm is a pretty valid strategy, especially if you're trying to protect a spellcaster in melee, because while they can cast defensively, you often aren't going to want them to be getting hit. They're not going to have the best armor class, and this can potentially allow you to stop them in their path in some way if you use improved trip or something of that sort. However, such builds are not very common and not particularly useful unless you really specialize in them, and this prestige class really isn't going to help you do so very much. You're better off just using one of your fighter bonus feats that you would have gotten at this level to take combat reflexes. Finally, at level 10, you gain the Capstone feature of this prestige class. It says that if an ally of a 10th level Knight Protector is knocked unconscious or becomes helpless, the Knight Protector can make a retributive attack. This allows you to effectively make an immediate attack with adding your charisma bonus to the attack roll and dealing an extra 10 points of damage on a successful hit. So this is effectively Smite Evil as a retributive attack if an ally of yours is felled in battle. If you have a lot of lower level allies that you're dragging along, then this will probably happen quite often and trigger this ability. But this is really not the sort of ability that you want to use. It's a little bit funny that it mentions that you can use this ability a number of times per day equal to your charisma bonus. If you're having allies go down 2, 3, 4 times a day, you're probably not doing a very good job as a protector of your party. This is a nice feature and it is flavorful, but for a capstone ability, it really should be alongside something else that lets you actually protect your party members, rather than getting a somewhat mediocre Smite Evil attack after they've already been felled by your enemies. There is at the very least a multi-class note that if you're a paladin or samurai that gets into this prestige class, you can continue to advance as a paladin or samurai afterward. This is probably so that once you realize that you've made a massive mistake getting into this prestige class, you can at the very least salvage what's left of your character build and continue advancing as your original class. One really wants to like the Knight Protector. The concept is very cool, and bodyguard themed characters are very, very flavorful and enjoyable to play. The concept is fun to roleplay of a very dedicated bodyguard of some sort. Pathfinder does provide a little bit more support for this sort of thing, and there is some in 3.5 as well, but this prestige class really isn't it. You get a mediocre defense ability that requires you to trade your own armor class and only works on lower level allies. You get a retributive attack, and you get some extra attacks of opportunity that you could have gotten just by taking the combat reflexes feat. If you're coming into this prestige class as a fighter, you are going to get a couple of bonus feats, or effectively bonus feats, but you could have just taken those feats on your own by continuing to advance in fighter, along with 3 or 4 other feats that probably would have actually helped you be effective. Overall, I would have to give this prestige class 4 stars for concept, but only 1 star for execution. Unfortunately, it's mostly just a mishmash of vaguely unrelated features, and they really don't come together in any sort of cohesive progression of any sort that really makes you feel like you are in fact a Knight Protector. While I might be leaning a little bit too hard on the Protector concept here in this review, the simple fact of the matter is that no matter what kind of character you're trying to build, even if you're going for just a variety of different features to give yourself some versatility, you can do a lot better than these, which are really not going to help you focus on any particular build and are going to be very situational, and in some cases not even useful in the situation they're intended for. There is a sort of cool code of the Knight Protector that is provided here. One of the elements of the code is that the Order does protect its own and will always be able to receive room or board from other Knight Protectors in the area if they're able to do so, and always be provided with appropriate gear if they're able to as well. The code is that of courage and enterprise and obedience to the Order, defense of any mission unto death, or I guess the death of your allies in some cases, respect for all peers and equals, courtesy to all lessers, combat is glory, battle is the true test of self-worth, war is the flowering of the chivalric ideal, personal glory above all in battle, that one's a little bit suspect, and death before dishonor, which is fitting for this type of character. Unfortunately, the Knight Protector is a bit of a disappointment as a prestige class, and it's really not one that I could ever recommend taking. Perhaps you could take 1 level in this if you really wanted to, in order to get that defensive stance feature, but there are better options like the various shield wall type feats in Miniatures Handbook, Complete Warrior, and all sorts of other places that would allow you to do this better and with a lot less feat investment. Speaking of which, there doesn't seem to be a single feature in this prestige class involving the mounted combat feat that it has as a prerequisite. Whether this is intended to force you to adhere to the knight concept is unclear, but you're not going to be doing a very good job defending people on horseback, and even if you are, this prestige class really doesn't give you any particular way of doing so. Improving this prestige class would require such an extensive rework that it would probably involve stripping it almost entirely of its identity. At the very least, being able to defend creatures of equal level to you while they're adjacent to you would be a good start. Not having to subtract from your armor class in order to do so would be another beneficial change. A lot of the other features would have to be wiped away entirely. The retributive attack is nice, but there would need to be some other kind of 10th level feature. Perhaps being able to move before making an attack of opportunity. Perhaps being able to prevent a creature from moving after you hit them with an attack of opportunity. Anything like that that would allow you to more effectively defend your party, or whoever it is you're defending, would make this prestige class a lot better. So that's going to be about it for this D&D 3.5 prestige class review. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, and so on. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time here on 3.5 Archive.